Hi there, and welcome to this tutorial on question 2 of the foundation paper for the GCSE Unit 1 exam. And as in previous tutorials, we're referring to the June 2012 exam paper. Okay, question 2 for me is a real continuation of the skills that you were exhibiting in question 1b, because they still want, the exam are still looking for you to show inference. They still want to see relevant and appropriate quotes and references to the text, and that you are clearly understanding that the text has been understood. I think that one thing maybe that sets this apart, because it is worth 8 marks, is that when we're looking up here in band 3 to be getting full marks, I think that this idea of a developed reference to the rescue. So when we're thinking about P, point, evidence, explain, a very simple explanation isn't going to suffice. You need to say something a bit more developed, go into a bit more depth and show a bit more understanding. Again, we've got a difference here between inference, one of them, and inferences, and some quotation and appropriate quotations. So there's a sense of plurality, isn't there, to band 3, showing you can do it more than once, and I think that's probably the key to it. In mark band 1, we see that it's just a sort of a simple understanding of the text. There might be some reference to the rescue and even some quotes copied out, but really it doesn't show that kind of fluid P that we're looking for in band 2 or band 3. So let's have a look at an example here. Once again, we remember question 2 is always going to refer to source 2. So this student's they've gained 2 marks, so they're in mark band 1. In the webpage RNLI, I've learnt that they are a volunteer lifeboat crew and are there to save people in emergencies. They saved a family who had been stranded on the sea for a few hours on their boat. I've also learnt that they have their own webpage for people to look at on the internet, which provides you with a lot of information. The RNLI is a charity that saves lives at sea. Now you can see, can't you, that your question was to explain what you've learnt about the rescue, not just about the RNLI. And I'll say it again, read the question carefully. It's not just telling you or asking you to just, tell them what you know about the RNLI. It wants you to focus in on that rescue. So we see here that there's a simple reference to the rescue, but mostly this student is just copying information that they've learnt from the text and no real sort of quotes there. I think this is quite a good example to show you, because it goes to show that in the exam sometimes, we can read the question wrongly, we can make mistakes, but rather than just kind of carry on with something that's not right, cross it out, start again. And you're not going to be penalised for crossings out, you're only going to be penalised if you don't answer that question correctly. So let's see, I'm not even going to bother reading that, that's fine. So this student has, I'm just going to enlarge that a little bit, because you might have struggle reading that on your screens. Okay, a family went on holiday and needed help because they were stranded on Loch Ness. They rang the Coast Guard to inform that they were in trouble. The crew members left the dock and went to rescue the family and their hamster. They were sent there to accompany the troubled family. Now you can see they put reference to the rescue via paraphrase. So students put it into their own words, they haven't just copied it as well. It's also said that it was not taking in water and there were no injuries at the scene. The water was dangerous because they had to tow the boat by connecting it with a rope. It was tricky because of the shallow water and created more problem, where later the crew managed to solve. The crew reached the family, who were very happy and were on their way home. They arrived at the station at 3:30, where they went home and prepared the boat again. So the examiner and I agree that this student's done quite a bit more than the previous student. They are making more than one reference to the rescue. They've largely kind of paraphrased that. They've taken what's in the text and then put it into their own words. It's not really doing P yet for me. There isn't the quote, there isn't the inference, and that's why it's at the bottom of mark band 2, just 4 marks. Okay, let's have a look at this student's response. The crew members saved a family and their pet. A family on holiday with a pet hamster needed the help of the RNLI. See how they've bullet pointed it? You can do that. I think if you're looking to try and do a developed explanation, it maybe limits you a bit, but it's worked okay for this student. There were 3 members of the RNLI lifeboat crew sent out. Crew members Ian Putnam, Joy Cameron and Martin Douglas. It took the RNLI crew members around half hour to save the family. Left the Temple Pier base at just before 1. The lifeboat returned to the station around 3:30. There was no damage to the boat and nobody was hurt. The cruiser was checked to confirm and so on and so forth. Now this student gets 1 mark more than the previous because what they've done is include quotations. So that's quite mechanical. There's not a lot of explanation. There certainly is an inference, which is why it's not getting 6. But there's a number of quotes and a number of references as to what happened in the rescue by the RNLI. So not too bad. Okay, let's have a look at another. So the RNLI is the charity that saves lives at sea. A family with their pet hamster needed the help of the RNLI. The family was stranded, but then the family had called the RNLI to rescue them once they was informed. They rapidly came and helped them. There were 16 lifeboats just to assist the family. The RNLI checked if the family and the hamster were okay. He had checked for any injuries and to see if any water was coming through the boat. So we've got some reference there. The family was in the RNLI. Help the family quickly and safely. Okay, so the grammar here is not great, is it? I'm sure as you're reading it yourself you can see plenty of mistakes. It says that the cruiser was checked to confirm that it was not taking on water and that there was no injuries sustained to the 6 people on board. So we've got a quote. Now, here's this little phrase I talked about in the tutorial for 1B. This shows. As soon as I see this, I think the student's going to show me some inference. So this shows that the RNLI team are very supportive and helpful and are good at what they do best, helping people at sea. Now the article doesn't say that. The students read between the lines and that makes it an inference. One of the crew members swam, then waded to the grounded vessel, which got into a notoriously tricky area, meaning it was hard for him to swim because of the conditions there. And again, I see this is rather an inference there. Some additional problems took place too, such as the extremely shallow water and so on and so forth. So this student, top of band 2, 6 marks, because finally we see inference, reading between the lines. Okay. So let's have a look at this one. This to me is a absolute perfect model of how to set out and how to tackle this question. If you look at the way that the examiner marks it, refers to rescue, quote, inference, rescue, quote, inference. Student does it all the way through. In source 2 we learn about the RNLI rescue. A family on holiday with a pet hamster needed the help of the RNLI. This might show the readers that this is a serious rescue mission and that family is stranded on a boat. We also learn another thing. The cruiser was checked to confirm that it was not taking on water and there were no injuries. This may suggest the reader that they want to ensure the family was safe before towing the boat. Moreover, we also learn how serious their situation was, where the conditions were clear but the loch was choppy. And again, that's an inference there. Here the evidence might show the reader that there was nothing wrong with the weather, but it was towing the boat which this can struggle to handle. Furthermore, we find one more thing. The extremely shallow water and very narrow channel created additional problems. There are no time we're eventually able to free the vessel. This could suggest, I should say to the reader, that the water was causing the problem, but they still managed to rescue them. This may infer the reader that they are heroes. Without their help, the family's problems will become more serious. So this is, a really, really strong response to this question. And it's all band 3, except for it doesn't really have as many developed references as I would have liked. That's why it hasn't got a full 8. But I'm sure you could see as you went through, the student said this could suggest, this shows, this, we can infer from this. Inferences. and